Wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show, and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Hello, and welcome back to B2B Growth. I'm your host for today's episode. I'm Sheila Kloefkorn, CEO of KEO Marketing. This is the 8th episode in the #Demand Gen series, and I'm joined today by Ryan Quinn, CEO and founder of BrightGuest. Ryan, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, Sheila, thanks so much for having me.
Sure. So Ryan and I are fellow members of the Arizona Technology Council, and I've experienced the amazing stuff that your platform does. And I'm so excited today because I wanted to have you share it with our B2B Growth listeners. This is new cutting edge stuff, and it's really working well for those B2B marketers out there who are struggling with trying to cut through the noise with email, trying to cut through the noise with retargeted ads. This is another marketing channel for you to consider. And I'm just thrilled to have you join us today, Ryan, for this podcast. So before we jump in with our topic, which is how to cut through the noise with B2B text messaging, I'd like you to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your background and about how BrightGuest came to be.
Yeah, so I am a startup founder in the Phoenix, Arizona scene, and it's a blooming startup culture here and super exciting. A lot of amazing companies coming out of here. And I founded BrightGuest few years back with the idea, we all live in this on-demand, mobile-obsessed culture that craves connection. And there's some enabling technologies that have emerged that compete for our attention, and they've really shifted the paradigm. So with so many channels, there's more opportunities for distraction, and the amount of available content actually makes us more selective. So organizations across all industries are trying to play catch up and adapt. And if you look at email open rates, they've been on a steady decline. Organic reach on social media is hard, and blasting out on channels that are being ignored isn't working. It just adds to the noise. So that's why I created BrightGuest. We empower organizations to easily personalize content workflows and messaging at scale and create authentic connections with their people on the channel they use most, text messaging. So our SaaS solution enables our customers to create personalized conversations that build relationships and increase engagement and revenue.
That's exciting. Thank you, Ryan. You're so right about text messaging being a place where people really live, both B2C, but even in the B2B space. And your platform is truly amazing. The way you pull in personalized, rich media content along with plain text messages is really powerful. So today we're going to talk about how to cut through the noise with B2B text messaging. I'm really excited about it. And my first question to you is just to talk a little bit more about how attention has shifted.
Yeah, it definitely has. It's changed. We went from the launch of the smartphone to the rise of social media, access to on-demand everything, and the expectation of curated, personalized experiences. What I like finds me. So everyone's short on time and on the go with their phone glued to their hand, multitasking in front of more than one screen. And if you're trying to compete for attention like it's 2009, you're really not winning that game. Organizations have to adapt and change with it just as fast as consumers adapt. If you don't, it can cost you tens of thousands of dollars per month on missed engagement and connections. So it's really about treating attention like a scarce commodity and focus on bringing value to your audience and investing in tools that make it scalable.
Absolutely. I think you're so insightful about that. So, in addition to the attention, how important do you think the channel and the messaging relevancy is to marketing these days?
Yeah, that is such an important thing to consider because of the availability of so many channels. It takes multiple touch points, and I've heard you hit on this in some of your talks before. Multiple touch points across all channels to compel action. But people are they're over impersonal mass marketing messages, right? You can't blast the same generic message across email, ads, social media, your website. You consume content differently based on the channel. So the content that we put out needs to be tailored to that channel. Just a quick example, a how-to blog, for instance, on your website to increase, the likelihood that you show up in organic search when potential customers are looking for what you offer. Take the most, interesting quote from that blog and turn it into a fun graphic to share on Instagram. Then share the quote on Twitter. Publish part of the blog post as an article on LinkedIn. So, break it up into segments that make sense for the channel. It's important to take a look at what channels are resonating with your audience. If some channels aren't working, invest more in the ones that are and figure out what you need to do to add value to the channels that aren't working from a content and messaging perspective. For example, if your email open rates have been declining, the answer isn't to send more emails, it's to be smarter with your outreach. So
Right.
conversations and authenticity are so important now. We're always on our phones, but we still want to have those authentic connections and conversations. Outreach
And
should be
they need to
collaborative.
feel like they're in real time at the same time that they're relevant, right?
Exactly. Conversations. And even with B2B, the end receiver is still a person. So we have to humanize our brand and speak like a human.
So that probably leads into my next question, which is why do you think text messaging works for B2B? I know a lot of people will get anxious and think, oh, are we opted in? Is this going to be received well? That kind of thing. You do this at scale, so you have a lot of experience. How does text messaging work for B2B?
It's interesting. If you look at some of the recent polls, almost 80% of people wish they could text with a business. One of the things about texting is that it's opt-in only, and so it's highly protected compared to, email. People want conversations, which is why texting works for organizations. It's the most widely used communication channel with greater than 90% open rates. And our customers see greater than 30% click-through rates, many times much greater. Compare that to email, which is less than 20% open rates and less than 3% click-through rates. It's a huge difference. So
Yeah.
why is it important for organization? Imagine what kind of increase that can do for your calls to action. And more people are giving organizations permission to send them texts. So do you have an immediate call to action that makes sense to initiate through texting? Try it out. You can also use texting to amplify your other channels, to augment them, like sending a text when an important email is in your leads inbox. Texting enables you to own the micro moment where decisions are made and be there in real time. For our customers, it's a powerful anchor point to capture that attention and mobilize action. One of the things that makes our software unique, though, is that our dashboard makes it easy for our customers to create mobile pages and guided content workflows quickly. Think under like 15 minutes without relying on developers, so they can take the conversation outside of the text message bubble and deliver personalized content in browser.
I think that's one of the most powerful things about it is that there's content that surrounds the text that's in rich media, and it's so easy to create and easy to personalize it at scale for a lot of contexts. It's one of the main reasons we decided to do a pilot with you, and one of our shared clients was like bowled over about how well it worked. So can you tell a little bit about one, how you set up a campaign like this, and kind of what happened with this case study that we worked on together?
Sure. Yeah. So the content workflows are extremely important because content is what really resonates with people, and the more personalized it is, the more likely that call to action will be taken. So an example of a successful B2B texting is one of our customers recently used BrightGuest for B2B lead gen. This customer attended a big national consumer electronics show and wanted to generate leads during the conference. The call to action was to text in to book a tour, which was promoted through targeted social media ads. 50% of the leads that texted in went on to book a tour. So huge conversion rate for a very qualified call to action.
Wow,
And
50%?
50%, yeah, led
50%
to
converted? Wow.
converted to booking an in-person tour. So not only did this produce a successful conversion rate, but it doesn't end there. Now the organization has permission to send follow-up text messages to these leads to continue the conversation, build and nurture the relationship, and increase the likelihood the leads turn into clients.
That's great. So, having worked on this with you, I know that the client was thrilled. We've been doing a lot of emails, that kind of thing. And this is exactly the additional set of touches we needed to create a really personalized, nice experience for these prospects. And that's part of why the conversion rate was so high. I mean, 50% is really high for a campaign like this.
I'm delighted that they're happy.
That's great. So, we're going to be wrapping up here, but just thinking about B2B and text messaging, something that a lot of companies don't do. What are some key points that you would leave our listeners with?
Okay. So one, if you're trying to compete for attention like it's 2009, that's not a game you can really win anymore. So you have to adapt with the fast pace of technology, because that's exactly what your audience is doing. So keeping step with your audience, investing in innovation is crucial. 2, listen to your audience. Align your communication with how your audience consumes content. Don't do more of what isn't working. Don't just add to the noise. And finally, you have to humanize your brand. Speak like a human. It's B2B, but you're still engaging with people.
Such good points. And I think just thinking about text messaging as an additional touch point. I mean, Google data now shows that it takes 7 to 16 touches just to get somebody to move to the next stage, not even to buy or take a demo. And so considering text messaging in the B2B space as an additional set of really personalized touches can be very, very powerful. Ryan, this has been a great conversation. I've been so excited to have you on. I love your perspectives on channel marketing and which channels to use and how text messaging has helped so many companies break through. If anyone has questions, follow-up questions, or would just like to connect with you, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yes. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Ryan Quinn and BrightGuest and you'll find me. Or you can text Ryan to 27,000. That's Ryan to 27000 to get a taste of our tool in action and connect with me there. But like you said, it takes so many touch points and it's all about building that relationship over time.
Definitely. And I do encourage you to reach out and text him and see what the experience is like. I think you'll be delighted. If you'd like to talk to me at keomarketing.com, I'd love to connect with you, or Sheila Kloefkorn at linkedin.com. Ryan, thanks again for being on the show. We really appreciate it. It was great to have you on, and I know our listeners are going to love this.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big 3, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.